These life lessons are requirements in life, not choices. A raw, unfiltered guide to thriving in the wild ride of existence. Life doesn't hand you a playbook. It throws you into the deep end. Sink or swim, figure it out. And while you're flailing, it whispers lessons in your ear, lessons you don't get to dodge or delay. They're not polite suggestions or optional side quests. They're the bones of being human, the unspoken rules etched into the marrow of your days. From the sun-soaked streets of California to the snow-dusted corners of Maine, these truths chase us all down. They're messy, they're real, and they're beautiful in their brutality. So, pour yourself a drink, coffee, whiskey, whatever steadies your soul, and let's walk through this together. Because these aren't choices. They're the pulse of life itself. Never go back to the past. It's a ghost town you can't live in. The past is a seductress. She drapes herself in soft memories. Your first love's laugh, the glow of a childhood summer, the sting of a regret you can't shake, and beckons you back. Come relive me, she purrs. Find happiness, justification, an excuse. But step closer, and you'll see the trap. It's a ghost town, all faded facades and empty streets. You can't build a home there. The world's moved on, spinning forward with relentless grace. And you're not that wide-eyed kid or broken-hearted fool anymore. Success isn't a crown you wear forever. Failure isn't a grave you're buried in. What counts is the courage to keep walking, eyes ahead, heart open. Take Sarah from Chicago. She was 42, a single mom with tired hands and a heart still tangled in her ex-husband's shadow. He'd remarried, started fresh, but Sarah couldn't let go. She'd sit on her sagging couch, flipping through old photos, their wedding, their fights the day he walked out. She'd replay every should've, every if only, like a scratched record stuck on repeat. Her daughter, Lily, grew quieter, her little shoulders hunched under the weight of Sarah's sighs. Then one Saturday, Lily mimicked her, slumped posture, heavy breath, and Sarah froze. She saw herself in that 10-year-old mirror, and it hit her. She wasn't just living in the past, she was dragging Lily there too. That night, she boxed up the photos, signed up for a pottery class, and started humming again. The past didn't vanish, it just stopped steering. Now, Sarah's too busy shaping clay. And her future, to look back. You've got your own ghosts, don't you? That job you lost, that friend who betrayed you, that dream you let slip. They tug at your sleeve, begging for one more glance. But here's the deal. Every second you spend staring backward is a second you're not seeing the road ahead. The bend where sunlight spills, the horizon where possibility hums. Don't look back, friend. You're not going that way. The past taught you its lessons. Now let it rest in peace. Your story's still unfolding, and the ink's wet with promise. Fear is the biggest liar you'll ever meet, and it's living rent-free in your head. Of all the liars in the world, fear's the slickest. It doesn't shout or swagger. It slinks in, smooth as silk, whispering doubts, so personal they feel like truth. You'll fail, it says, leaning close. You're not enough. Stay small, stay safe. But here's the punchline. Fear's got no backbone. It's a phantom, a shadow cast by your own mind, evaporating the moment you turn on the light. It's not out there in the wild. It's in here between your ears, and it's been lying to you since the day you let it move in. Think back to your last dance with fear. Maybe it was standing at a crossroads, quitting a soul-sucking job, confessing a love, or stepping onto a stage. Your pulse raced like a runaway train, your palms slicked with sweat, and fear spun its tail. You'll crash. They'll laugh. You'll lose everything. Did you listen? Maybe you froze. Maybe you fought through. Either way, you're still standing. That dread you felt? It didn't kill you. It forged you. The pain of that moment? It's the strength you carry now, a quiet badge of honor. Fear's a liar, and its only power is what you give it. Meet Mike from Ohio. He was 28, a factory worker with calloused hands and a guitar gathering dust in his closet. Music was his heartbeat, but fear kept it caged. You know Springsteen, it sneered. You'll bomb, go broke, end up a joke. So Mike punched the clock, day after gray day, until a buddy dragged him to an open mic in Columbus. His knees shook as he climbed the stage. His voice cracked on the first note, but then the crowd leaned in. By the third song, they were roaring, clapping, begging for more. Fear had lied, and Mike saw through it. Now he gigs every weekend, not rich but alive. Fear still chatters, but he's got its number. He nods, tunes his strings, and plays anyway. You felt that grip too, right? That knot in your gut when the stakes get high. Here's how you beat it. Stare it down. Ask, what's the worst that'll happen? Chances are it's not death, it's discomfort, and you've survived that before. Fear's a tenant you can evict. Kick it out, change the locks, and claim your mind back. Because the only thing worth fearing is a life you didn't dare to live. Self-compassion isn't weakness. It's the glue that holds you together. We're our own worst critics, swinging the bat harder at ourselves than we'd ever dream of aiming at someone else. Spill coffee on a report? You're an idiot. Snap at your partner? You're a failure. We demand perfection like it's a birthright, but here's the raw truth. We're human. We trip, we fumble, we break things, sometimes ourselves. Self-compassion isn't a free pass. It's the courage to look at your mess and say, I'm still worth something. It's not weakness. It's the glue that keeps you from falling apart. Picture this. You're on your back porch, thunder rumbling, rain lashing the world beyond the awning. Your best friend's beside you, voice trembling as they confess. They forgot their kid's recital, lost their temper, let someone down. You don't scold. You slide them a cold soda, rest a hand on their shoulder, and say, you're not perfect. None of us are. You'll fix this. They exhale lighter, maybe even crack a smile. Now, turn that mirror on yourself. You screw up, same stakes, and suddenly you're the villain, unworthy of mercy. Why? If you'd fight for your friend's soul, fight for your own. Self-compassion isn't soft, it's fierce. Take Emily, a nurse in Atlanta. She lived for her patients, 12-hour shifts, no sleep, every heartbeat a mission. But when a young mom died on her watch, Emily shattered. She replayed every move, every med, convinced she'd failed. Guilt gnawed her alive until one night, bone-tired, she snapped at a colleague. The shame doubled down. Then, in the quiet of her car, she pictured her 22-year-old self, bright-eyed, eager, human, and asked, would I hate her for this? No. She scribbled a note. You're enough. Rest. That shift saved her. She's still a nurse, still damn good, but now she's kinder to them, to herself. Self-compassion didn't erase the pain. It gave her room to heal. Try it. Next time you stumble, pause. Breathe. Ask, what I tell my best friend? Then say to yourself, you're not dodging the lesson. You're learning it with grace. That's not fragility. That's power, the kind that keeps you whole when the world tries to crack you open. Start saving your money, because freedom isn't free. Money's a loaded gun. Some see it as power, others as poison. But strip away the drama, and it's just a tool, a Swiss Army knife for life's messes. You don't need a yacht or a penthouse. Good for you if that's your jam, but you do need a cushion. A busted tire, a kid's braces, a layoff notice. Life doesn't care about your bank balance. Saving isn't about stacking gold bars. It's about stacking peace, brick by brick, until you can face the storm and say, I've got this. Meet Carlos, a barber in East LA. He's got a steady clipper hand and a grin that lights up the shop, but for years, he blew every dime. Jordan's late-night carne asada, a tricked-out Chevy he loved like a kid. Then his mom's roof caved in during a freak storm. No insurance, no savings, just a $10,000 hole he couldn't climb out of. He borrowed from cousins, pawned his watch, lay awake nights drowning in what-ifs. It broke him, but Carlos is stubborn. He swore he'd never be that guy again, helpless, scrambling. Now, he tucks $20 a week into his savings jar. Last month, his alternator died. He paid cash, no sweat, and laughed. This is what control feels like. He's not rolling in it, but he's free. You don't need a fortune. Start where you stand. Skip the $6 latte, the impulse buy. Toss $5, $10 into an account, a piggy bank, hell, a sock if that's what works. Watch it grow, slow like a river carving stone. It's not about the dollars. It's about the shield they build. Because happiness isn't a shiny toy. It's knowing the wolf at the door can't touch you. That's worth more than gold. Practice truth. It's lighter than lies. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Mark Twain nailed it. Lies are heavy, chains you drag through life, clanking with every step. They pile up, twist, demand you keep track of every thread. Truth? It's a feather. You drop it, and it floats free. No baggage, no script to memorize. It's not always easy. Truth can cut, bruise, burn, but it's clean. It sets you loose. Think of Jenna, a 30-year-old from Seattle. She spent years spinning tales. White lies to her boss about deadlines, half-truths to her boyfriend about where she'd been. She wasn't cruel, just scared of judgment, of conflict. But the weight grew. She'd lie awake, mapping her stories, terrified they'd unravel. Then one day, her boyfriend asked point blank, "Are you happy?" She could have dodged, but something snapped. "No," she said, voice shaking. "And I've been lying to you." He left, and it hurt like hell, but the air felt lighter. Now, Jenna's brutal with her honesty. It's raw, sometimes messy, but she sleeps like a rock. Truth freed her. You've carried lies too, haven't you? Maybe to save face, dodge a fight, or keep the peace. Next time, try the feather. Say what's real, even if it stings. You'll stand taller, breathe deeper. Because truth doesn't just unburden you. It builds trust with others and yourself. That's a currency no lie can match. Rồi đây là phần tiếp tục của bài viết. Giữ nguyên 6 bài học đã viết trước đó và thêm 7 bài học mới, từ điều 7 đến điều 13. Bắt đầu từ ý tưởng thứ 7 trong nội dung gốc của bạn. Make and keep frozen with the people you want to emulate. Tôi sẽ tiếp tục với phong cách Mỹ, giàu cảm xúc, tính văn chương cao, sử dụng câu chuyện, phân tích sâu và hình ảnh sống động. Phần này sẽ thêm khoảng 3-504,000 từ, đưa tổng độ dài hiện tại lên khoảng 6-507,000 từ. Cuối cùng, tôi sẽ phát thảo các đạt 25.000 từ như đã hứa. These life lessons are requirements in life, not choices. A raw, unfiltered guide to thriving in the wild ride of existence. Fan 1 to 6, Jung Nguyen Nuda Viet. Never go back to the past. Fear is the biggest liar. Self-compassion isn't weakness. Start saving your money. Practice truth. It's lighter than lies. 7. Make and keep friends with the people you want to be. They're your compass. You've heard it a million times. You are the company you keep. It's not just a bumper sticker platitude. It's a law of life as real as gravity. The people you let into your orbit don't just share your beers or your laughs. They shape your soul. Hang with the bitter, and you'll taste resentment. Run with the brave, and you'll find your own spine. So, choose wisely. Not the ones who'll clap for your flaws, but the ones who mirror the person you're clawing to become. They're not just friends. They're your compass when a map's gone missing. Meet Alex, a 25-year-old from Denver. Fresh out of college, he fell in with a crew of barflies. Good guys, loud laughs, but zero ambition. They'd slug beers, trash talk their dead-end jobs, and shrug at tomorrow. Alex didn't notice it at first, but their drift became his. He stopped applying for gigs, let his graphic design portfolio gather digital dust. Then one night, a co-worker, Tara, invited him to a meetup, artists, hustlers, dreamers. They talked big, portfolios, startups, risks, and Alex felt a spark. He ditched the barflies, started grabbing coffee with Tara's crowd. 6 months later, he's freelancing, hustling alive. Those new friends didn't just cheer him on. They showed him who he could be. Look around your table. Who's sitting there? The ones who drag you down with good enough, or the ones who nudge you toward great? Emulate the builders, the fighters, the ones who light up when they talk about what's next. They won't always be the easiest to find. Comfort loves mediocrity, but they're worth the hunt. Because your future, it's got their fingerprints all over it. 8. There are 2 paths, and you can still switch tracks. Life's a fork in the road every damn day. One path's safe, well-trod, predictable, a slow roll to the finish line. The other's wild, thorny, uncharted, full of scrapes and glory. You've walked both, haven't you? Maybe you're on the safe one now, clocking in, coasting, wondering why your chest feels hollow. Or maybe you're knee-deep in the wild one, bruised but burning. Here's the secret. There's still time to change the road you're on. The tracks don't lock. Not yet. You got the wheel, and the gas tank's not empty. Take Lisa, a 38-year-old from Phoenix. She'd spent 15 years in a cubicle, stable pay, health insurance, a life of beige. She wasn't unhappy, just numb. Nights, she'd scroll through travel blogs, dreaming of deserts and oceans, but the safe path whispered, stay put. You've got bills. Then her dad died, sudden heart attack, gone. At the funeral, she realized he'd worked the same safe job, saved every penny, and never saw Paris like he'd sworn he would. That cracked her open. Lisa quit, sold half her stuff, and booked a one-way to Morocco. She's a tour guide now, sunburned, broke half the time, but her eyes shine. She switched tracks, late but not too late. You're not stuck, not unless you decide you are. The safe path's fine if it feeds your soul, but if it's just fear in a suit, kick it to the curb. The wild one's messy, mud on your boots, wind in your face, but it's yours. Two paths stretch out, and the clock's ticking. Which one's calling your name? 9. Stop worrying what others think. No one's watching anyway. Here's a bitter pill. Nobody's thinking about you as much as you think they are. You're agonizing over that dumb thing you said at the party, the outfit that didn't land, the promotion you didn't get, convinced the world's got a spotlight on your every move. Newsflash, they don't. They're too busy wrestling their own demons, scrolling their phones, or wondering if they locked the car. Wasting time on their opinions is like painting a house nobody lives in. Let go. Your life's too short for imaginary critics. Consider Jake, a 32-year-old from Austin. He was a people pleaser. Iron shirts, fake smiles, always nodding yes when he meant no. He'd replay every conversation, terrified he'd offended someone, looked weak, seemed less than. It paralyzed him. Missed dates, stalled projects, a life on pause. Then one day, he bombed a pitch at work, stuttered, sweated, flopped. He braced for the whispers, the judgment. Nothing. His boss shrugged, his team moved on. Jake blinked, then laughed. They weren't watching. He quit tailoring his life to ghosts, started saying what he meant. Now he's louder, looser living. Next time you're sweating someone's gaze, stop. They're not your audience. You're not their show. The world's a tragedy to those who feel, a comedy to those who think. Think more, feel less about their eyes. You'll walk lighter, taller, free. 10. Thinking is hard work. That's why most don't do it. Thinking is the hardest work there is, Henry Ford said, which is probably the reason so few engage in it. He wasn't wrong. It's easier to drift, scroll TikTok, nod at the news, let someone else chew your food for you. But real thinking? That's a grind. It's wrestling with questions, tearing apart assumptions, building something new from the rubble. Most won't. You should, because a mind that works is a mind that wins. Meet Priya, a 27-year-old from Brooklyn. She coasted through her 20s, retail job, Netflix binges, a life on autopilot. She'd shrug at politics, parrot her friends' takes, let the world happen to her. Then her landlord hiked the rent, $500 more, no warning. She panicked, then paused. For the first time, she sat down and thought hard. Could she negotiate? Move? Earn more? She researched, budgeted, pitched a side hustle to a friend. 2 months later, she's designing logos, paying rent, calling shots. Thinking woke her up. It wasn't easy. Her brain ached like a muscle she'd never flexed, but saved her. You've drifted too, haven't you? Skimmed the surface when you could have dived deep. Try it. Pick a problem, your job, your love life, your next step, and wrestle it. Ask why, then why again. It's sweat, it's strain, but it's power. The world's a playground for thinkers. Get in the game. 11. Manage your mood, or it'll manage you. Your mood's a wild horse. Untamed, it'll buck you off and trample your day. Let it run loose, and it's not just you who suffers. It's everyone in your path. Manage it, though, and it's a steed you ride, strong and steady through the chaos. Life's too unpredictable to leave your heart at the mercy of every storm. Rein it in. You're the boss, not your feelings. Take Ryan, a 35-year-old from Portland. He was a mood bomb, sunny 1 minute, snarling the next. A late bus, a snarky email, and he'd spiral, yelling at his wife, kicking the dog's bowl, stewing in dark clouds. He'd say, "That's just me," like it was a badge. Then his kids started flinching at his tone. That hit hard. Ryan dug in, deep breaths, walks, a notebook to vent the black. It wasn't instant. He still snaps, but he catches it now, tames it. His house is quieter, his heart too. You've got your triggers, traffic, deadlines, that one jerk at work. Don't let them own you. Breathe, step back, choose your move. A mood that obeys doesn't just save your day, it saves your life. Ride it, don't let it ride you. 12. Turn away to understand. Clarity comes in the quiet. To get the world, sometimes you've got to ditch it. Step off the treadmill, mute the noise, let the dust settle. It's counterintuitive. How do you grasp something by walking away? But the truth hides in the silence, not the shouting. You can't see the stars in Times Square. You got to find the dark to spot the light. Meet Sam, a 45-year-old from Boise. He was a news junkie, CNN, Twitter, podcast, 24/7 input. He'd argue at dinner, rant at strangers, drown in the world's mess. His head was a war zone, angry, cluttered, lost. Then his sister dragged him camping. No signal, no screens, just trees and a fire. He fought it, twitched for his phone, until the quiet sank in. By day 3, he saw it. The world wasn't his to fix, just to live. He came back sharper, calmer, tuned in. The noise had blinded him. The silence opened his eyes. You're drowning too, aren't you? In headlines, chatter, the endless scroll. Try this. Unplug. An hour, a day, a weekend. Sit with yourself. The world won't fall apart. It'll come into focus. Clarity's not out there in the fray. It's in here, waiting for you to shut the door. 13. If it's not right, don't do it. Integrity's your North Star. If it feels wrong, it is. That itch in your gut, that twist in your chest. It's not noise, it's a signal. Doing what's right isn't always loud or noble. It's quiet, steady, a compass when the fog rolls in. Bend that, and you're not just lost, you're less. Integrity's not a trophy, it's the ground you stand on. Don't trade it for a quick win. Take Maria, a 29-year-old from Miami. She works sales, cutthroat, quotas, cash. Her boss pushed her to fudge numbers. Everyone does it, he'd wink. She did once, sold a junk car, pocketed the bonus. The money felt good, the mirror didn't. She saw her dad's face, honest, broke, proud, and quit the game. Now she's at a smaller gig, straight up, sleeping sound. The paycheck's thinner, but her spine's steel. You faced it too, that nudge to cheat, dodge, slide by. Listen to the itch. Right's not always easy, it's rarely loud, but it's true. Stick to it. The world can sway, your North Star won't.